Okay, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. We're so excited that you're joining us for today's virtual counselor update from Texas Tech University and the University of Houston. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get things started today. We are utilizing Zoom webinar. So if your microphone and your camera are disabled, just FYI. So if you're trying to unmute that microphone or turn your camera on, no worries, we've disabled those through Zoom webinar today. If you have any questions throughout today's presentation, we have a whole host of team members that are here to answer those questions for you. We'll be utilizing the Q&A feature that you can see down at the bottom of your screen. So if you press the Q&A button, you'll be able to type your questions in right there on the screen. If you are going to submit a question, we do ask that you preface that question with either TTU for Texas Tech University or UH for the University of Houston, just so that we can make sure that the appropriate admissions representatives are answering that for you. And I know all of you always ask, we are recording today's presentation and we'll be sharing out the recording and today's slides with all of you at the conclusion of our counselor update events. But once again, welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here with us. My name is Rex Oliver. I serve as our Director of Recruitment in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions here at Texas Tech University. And on behalf of the staff in the Office of Admissions, we just wanted to welcome you and thank you so much for being here and taking the time out of your busy schedule to hear our updates from both of these amazing institutions today. I'm going to kick things off for Texas Tech just by sharing a quick video for you, and then we'll get things going.
Flying Red Horsemen leads the Red Raiders from Texas Tech on to the field.
And the Texas Tech Red Raiders are headed to the College World Series.
So I don't know who is excited after that video, but it definitely gives us chills here at Texas Tech. So we hope that you enjoyed that, just a little snippet of who we are here at the university. Just some general information about Texas Tech. We'll cover that general information here first. We also have some very important policy changes and updates to share with all of you as we progress for the class of fall 2022. And then we'll wrap up today's Texas Tech portion of the presentation with some of our key admissions information, and then we'll hand it off to our friends and colleagues at the University of Houston. But Texas Tech University is located in Lubbock, Texas. I'm sure most of you are familiar with where that is. Lubbock is a community of about 250,000 residents currently. We reached an enrollment milestone here at Texas Tech this last fall semester. We set a 12-year enrollment goal back in 2008 to enroll over 40,000 students at the institution. And we are so proud that we were able to do that in the fall of 2022. Our current enrollment is 40,322 students. I'm sorry, I meant fall 2020. Our census date is actually the 12th class day at the university, so we're still waiting for those official numbers to come in for what this fall 2021 class will look like, but all signs are pointing to having another record-breaking enrollment year at 40,000 plus students. Our average unweighted GPA for the class of fall 2021 was a 3.6 average unweighted GPA, and we're really proud of the fact that our student-to-teacher ratio has actually decreased over the last several years while we've hit record-breaking enrollment. Our student-to-teacher ratio here at Texas Tech is 19 to 1. And you've heard us say this probably multiple times before, but Texas Tech is not your suitcase campus. Our students go out to Lubbock and they have a true residential experience on our campus. More than 78% of our new students actually come from further than 300 miles away from Lubbock to enroll at the institution. So they do have that very traditional college experience for what we hope is 4 years with us. Students enroll at Texas Tech from every county in Texas, all 50 states in the United States and over 100 foreign countries. You'll hear us talk about some of our access and opportunity that we have for our students at the university as well. These are brand new for this year, a majority of them. Texas Tech University is one of only 16 institutions in the United States that has been designated both a Carnegie Highest Research Activity Institution and a Hispanic serving institution. So one of only 16 in the entire country that's able to say that. Our student population did cross the 25% threshold for Hispanic students to be a Hispanic serving institution. 42% of our current students actually identify as racially ethnic minority. So we're very proud of the diversity that we're able to offer, our prospective students, and the support programs that we have in place for our first generation college students, for everyone on our campus. You can see nearly 25% of our students here are first generation college students. We have a very broad and diverse set of programs through our Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion that we can offer our new students and our current students. We are an LGBTQIA friendly campus as well. The Campus Pride Index has ranked us 5 out of 5 stars. We're actually number 2 in the state of Texas by the Campus Pride Index and number 46 in the United States through our programming that we offer through our LGBTQIA office on campus. And last but not least, I know everyone always wants to hear about money, and we'll talk about scholarships as we go through this presentation. But in the last year, Texas Tech has awarded over $170 million in scholarships to over 50% of our student population. So that's not only a ton of money that we're giving out in that free scholarship money, but we're affecting a lot of students here at the institution by awarding to over 50% of the population. As far as our academic opportunities here at Texas Tech, you've heard us say many times, we are the first institution in the state of Texas to house a graduate school, a law school, and a medical school, all on the same campus as our undergraduate institution. So we've got a lot of opportunities for our students to further pursue their academic career after they finish their 4-year bachelor's degree. Our Health Sciences Center in Lubbock is actually a level 1 trauma center. So a lot of our students get hands-on learning experiences who are in our School of Nursing or in our School of Medicine. We are also very proud of the fact that this fall 2021, we had our first class start in our brand new School of Veterinary Medicine located in Amarillo, Texas. We are so excited for this endeavor to finally come to fruition, and seeing the pictures and things from our first class is just so exciting. In terms of academics at the undergraduate level, Texas Tech does have 10 different academic colleges. And within these 10 different colleges, we comprise 150 undergraduate degree programs. You can see we have a very broad offering of majors that we have here at the university, all the way from College of Agriculture down to our College of Visual and Performing Arts. But you can see here, these are our 10 different academic colleges. Now into some of the most important things that we're going to be discussing today. These are our policy changes related to the fall 2022 application cycle. Last year, you heard us talk about being test optional. Texas Tech has maintained our test optional admission policy for the class of fall 2022. We will be test optional for both admission and scholarship purposes for this upcoming academic year. If students elect to be test optional, they will go through our holistic application review process, and I'll talk about that in a little bit greater detail as we progress through this presentation. Now, if you have students who have tested and they may have already sent scores to us at Texas Tech, if they apply to be test optional, we will hide those scores from consideration, even if they've already sent them to us. So if you've got someone who sat on test day and they just automatically put Texas Tech down, but now they've decided they want to be test optional, once again, we will hide those scores from consideration. Now, if you have students who are test optional and they have been either waitlisted or denied admission to Texas Tech, all students can always submit a test score and request a reevaluation. So if you have students in that situation, feel free to connect them with their admissions counselor here, and we're happy to talk them through that process. All test optional students, this is very important, must still meet TSI requirements prior to enrollment at the university. So please help us communicate that to your students. If they are test optional and would maybe be previously exempt from TSI based on their test scores, we have to still make sure that they meet those TSI requirements prior to enrollment. Now, for our restricted majors at the university, we have a host of majors that that require students to be automatically admitted to the university, like engineering and business, things like that. Our restricted majors will still do a holistic full file review on those students to admit them into their academic college. Now at Texas Tech, the admissions office hosts the first round of reviews. So even if we decide to admit a student to Texas Tech, that doesn't necessarily mean that they would be admitted to those restricted majors. That would be up to their academic college. But if they're not admitted to those restricted majors, we have several different options for them to pursue their degree here at the university as well. Another very important update that we are excited to share with all of you is that Texas Tech has now implemented the self-reported academic record. The self-reported academic record, or I will call it SRAR for short, or SRAR for short, this replaces the high school transcript that is used for the initial review process at Texas Tech. Your students no longer need to submit a transcript for their initial review in the admissions process to the university. In fact, if your students send us a transcript, we will not be entering that transcript into our system. We are requiring all applicants to complete the self-reported academic record. This is great news for you as a counselor because you no longer have to send stacks and stacks of transcripts to Texas Tech for them to be evaluated. This system allows our students to self-report their courses and their grades, including their academic rigor. We strongly encourage those students to have a copy of their transcript with them when they're entering their grades and self-reported academic record. Now, all of you are probably wondering, why did we implement SRAR? And the short answer to this, without being too long-winded here, is that this allows us to put all of our students on the same GPA scale, regardless of where they go to school. You would be very surprised at the amount of schools who send us transcripts with 3, 4, 5 different GPA scales sometimes, and none of those GPA scales are on a 4.0 scale. So this allows us to really be consistent with our students that are applying to Texas Tech. So we are very excited about that, but let me just reiterate, this means you no longer have to send transcripts to Texas Tech until it is their final transcript prior to enrollment. Now, it's very important, and we are doing our best to communicate this to students, that they must access the self-reported academic record through our internal Rater Connect account, and the website is here listed on your screen. If they log into Rater Connect, this will allow them to automatically link their SRAR account to our Texas Tech account. If they don't, it will not go through into our system. Much more information, including a 15-minute tutorial video for all of your students, can be found at the website that's listed here on your screen. It will walk them through every single thing step by step as they're applying through SRAR. We are also very excited to share, I know last year we talked about it was our first year implementing the Common App here at Texas Tech. We are also now accepting the Coalition application as well. So we have 3 different applications available for your students to apply. We have no preference over the application that they choose as long as they submit one of the 3. So we are now accepting Apply Texas, the Common App, and the Coalition application. And then finally, we shared this update last year, but this is a big one, so we'd like to talk about this every year. Red Reader Guarantee is our program here at Texas Tech that essentially allows students, if they meet certain criteria, to receive their tuition and fees covered for their time here at Texas Tech. We made the announcement last year, and we are continuing it again this year, that students who are now making an adjusted gross income, their families less than $65,000 per year, if they are residents of Texas and meet a few different criteria that are listed on the website here on your screen, they will have their tuition and fees covered for 4 academic years. Again, there's a couple of other things that our students have to meet, but if they're residents of Texas and their AGI is 65,000 or less, we will work with them on our Red Reader Guarantee program. Students must be admitted to Texas Tech and have a submitted FAFSA application no later than January 15th in order to be eligible for the Red Reader Guarantee program. And that is a hard deadline of January the 15th. So now we'll dive into our admissions process, just to recap what we're looking for in the admissions process and how we will process applications. This is our slide detailing all of our application materials. In case you are not aware, the Apply Texas application has changed their landing page, and we hear from students every day who are still not used to this. But if you have students using Apply Texas, the new link is goapplytexas.org. So make sure that you're sharing that with your students if they're using that Apply Texas application. The $75 application fee or fee waiver remains the same as last year. Then you have the self-reported academic record, and if they choose to submit the ACT or the SAT. Notification of decisions here at Texas Tech takes approximately 2 to 4 weeks. We are on a rolling application process here at the university. So from the time a student's file is completed with all of the items you see here on the screen, they'll have an answer back from us in 2 to 4 weeks. Now for fee waivers, this information has stayed the same. So if you've been with us before, nothing here has changed. Texas Tech does a direct income verification from the student's FAFSA. So when FAFSA opens on October 1st, if the student's income level meets the federal free and reduced lunch guidelines for fee waivers, we will automatically waive their application fee if they requested one. Now, if you have students who are not eligible to submit the FAFSA or who are not planning to, they can provide further documentation and find our fee waiver form on our website as well. And one thing I wanted to mention too, on the self-reported academic record, the students will also self-report not only their courses, but they will also be able to self-report their class ranking. So if you are at a school that ranks, the student will be able to put that information into the self-reported academic record. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. We have an assured admission policy here at Texas Tech based on a student's test score and their ACT or SAT. Clearly, this process is for those students who will be declaring a test score. This is our published automatic admission policies. None of this has changed. This is all staying the same. If you are at a school that is a non-ranking high school, Texas Tech will assign a class ranking to them based off of their unweighted GPA. And while we don't release that scale out to the public, we will tell your students what their class ranking is. If they just give us a call or shoot us an email, we'll be happy to do that. So again, if they meet this criteria here for assured admission, they will be automatically admitted into the university. Now, our test optional and our holistic application review process is not only for students who are test optional, but this is also for students who do not qualify for automatic admission. We do a full file holistic review on everything that you see here on this chart, from their applications, on the essays on their applications, their academic course selections, all the way down to dual credit transcripts, IB or AP scores, and their resume as well. It is a full file review that's actually reviewed 2 different times, so all of these things are taken into consideration. Our important deadlines that we have listed here, some of these are have changed just a little bit. One of the most important ones is our fall priority scholarship deadline. That is December the 1st. Now our scholarship application will remain open after December 1st. But very soon after December 1st, our scholarships office will start awarding scholarships to students who have submitted an application. So while they can still submit the scholarship questions on the application, they really should try to get that in by December 1st in order to be eligible for all of the money we have available. A very important update for all of you, as you can see, May the 1st is our fall deadline to accept scholarships. Our financial aid and scholarships office is building this in for this year, where we are asking all students to select or to accept their scholarships no later than May the 1st. So if you'll help us communicate that to your students, again, that is our priority deadline to accept scholarships, and that is May the 1st. So while we're talking about merit scholarships, I have a couple of different slides here for you. The first one here on your screen, this is our merit scholarships based on SAT and ACT scores. So for our non-test optional students, this has not changed from last year, thank goodness. This will remain the same. So if you've seen this before, nothing has changed here. The chart is looking at your students' class ranking at the top of the screen, and we are comparing that class ranking to your SAT or ACT scores. Once again, if your school does not rank, we will assign a class ranking to your student based off of their unweighted GPA. On the bottom right, you can see renewal requirements. That's the information, the criteria that they actually have to maintain once they are students here at Texas Tech in order to continue receiving that scholarship. I also want to make sure all of you see on the top left-hand side the National Merit Finalist Scholarship. If any of your students are designated as a National Merit Finalist, Texas Tech will provide them with a full ride 4-year scholarship for all of their cost of attendance for those 4 years. If we have any out-of-state counselors here today, I also want to mention that if you have any students that are not Texas residents, if they receive at least $1,000 or more in scholarship money, they will automatically qualify for in-state tuition here at Texas Tech. And that means if they qualify for one of these presidential merit scholarships, that also automatically qualifies them for in-state tuition here at the university. Now, for our test optional students, we do have merit scholarships available for students applying as test optional. If we have students applying once they submit it, we will do a full file holistic review, very similar to our review for the admissions process. We will also do that for scholarship awarding as well, and our scholarships team will be handling that. Now, if we have students who initially elect to be test optional, they can supply an ACT or an SAT score until May the 1st of their senior year in order to qualify for a higher scholarship. So if they get that award package for being a test optional student, they then decide to maybe sit for the SAT or ACT, they do have until May 1 to submit that score and qualify for a merit scholarship that way. If you have students who qualify for a merit scholarship, but then they also may receive an additional academic scholarship, those will stack on top of each other. So all of our scholarships here at Texas Tech will stack on top of each other. We also want to tell you about our estimated cost of attendance here. This is based on 1 academic year or 30 credit hours here at Texas Tech University. We will send a bill to your students for tuition and fees and room and board. The other 3 costs that you see here are all indirect expenses, meaning this is really an estimate for your students to build into their budget, but we will not be sending a bill for those items. And lastly, for the Texas Tech portion, we just wanted to end with just a few different things here. We know we talked to some of you that really want to get your students connected to Texas Tech, but you don't know how. Texas Tech has a referral program where you can just go to this website. All you've got to do is enter some very basic information for your students that will immediately get them connected to all of us here at Texas Tech, and their admissions counselor is then notified to reach out to them directly. So if you have a need to get students connected with us and they aren't already connected, please feel free to use this refer a student link that we have here in the presentation. We also wanted to let you know we are back to hosting in-person events and campus visits for the time being. As of today, we are back to hosting in-person events. We do have Texas Tech Preview, which is coming up on Monday, October the 11th. This is our preview day for the entire institution for students to really come out and see everything that Texas Tech has to offer. This is also a home football game weekend. So if students choose to attend a home football game on that Saturday, they can just stay over for Texas Tech Preview on that Monday. We are also offering in-person campus tours Monday through Friday and on select Saturdays. So if you have students that are interested in visiting our campus, they can make their tour reservations in advance on our Visitor Center website. And then last but not least, if we can ever do anything for you here at Texas Tech, if you would like us to come and do a presentation to your students, either in person or virtually, please reach out to me directly. I've got my email address that's here on the screen for you. We'd be happy to get you paired up with one of our admissions counselors and get going with doing a presentation for you. But that does do it for the Texas Tech portion of today's presentation. Once again, thank you so much for being here. We know that this last year, the last 18 months, have not been easy for any of us, and we just really value you and appreciate all of the work that you do. But I'm now going to pass it over to our friends at the University of Houston and Mr. Mardell Maxwell. Mardell, I'll turn it over to you.
Rex, thank you so much. Wonderful job as always. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And again, thank you for attending, for showing up for today's counselor update event. I want to give you just a moment. So let's take about a minute and a half. And if you need to get a drink, step away for just a moment, and then we'll get started with our last portion, our last half of today's event. So we'll get started here in just about a minute. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I get excited. I love these events, whether in person or virtually. I get excited. So let's go ahead and get started because I want to use up every second, every minute that we have together. My name is Dr. Mardell Maxwell, and I have the honor of serving as Executive Director of Admissions here at the University of Houston. I've been with Houston for 4 years. I'm a first-generation college student. I grew up in a military community in the Midwest. And I remember, like yesterday, being a high school senior and trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. So it's my lived experiences that have brought me to this profession, and I'm passionate about helping your students move to and move through college. And that's precisely what we're going to talk a little bit about today, and how your students are going to be able to navigate through the college going and the college search process, specifically for the University of Houston. I do want to take a moment to echo something that Rex said. I want to acknowledge and honor and celebrate you all as school counselors, as advisors, as a support network for your students, for their parents and guardians in your community. We continue to do such amazing work in really challenging circumstances. And I just want you to know, if you haven't heard it today, you are amazing, you are great. And especially on the higher education side of this work that we do, I just want you to know that we see you and that we appreciate you. And I'm honored that you're spending some time with us here today. So I'm going to share a little bit of why there is no better time than now for your students to choose Houston. We're going to talk a little bit about the application process. We're going to discuss a few process enhancements. And lastly, we'll leave some time at the end for questions. We do have today some great University of Houston staff members that are a part of this today. They're going to be monitoring the chat, so you are more than welcome to ask questions at the end or leave some questions in the chat along the way of today's presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the things that your students and their support network will hear me say all throughout the year is that this is a very special and unique place to go to college. The University of Houston, we're located in the 4th largest city in the US. Our city is home to the largest medical center in the world, numerous Fortune 500 companies. We have professional sports teams, and we're the energy capital of the world. This is a place where your students can finish their accounting class in the afternoon and maybe attend a Rockets game or a Beyonce concert by night. It's a place that's rich with culture, a place that's rich with cuisine. I'd like to say we're unique because from our campus, your students can see the world. Here at this campus, we affectionately call ourselves the Powerhouse. More than 46,000 powerful students call the University of Houston home. We're a Carnegie Knight Tier 1 research university, meaning we're among the top 2% of public universities, research universities in America. Our students represent every county across the state of Texas. We have 46 different states that are represented, and we have more than 130 different countries around the world that are represented amongst our student body. I remember the first time that I visited the University of Houston. As I mentioned, I'm from the Midwest. And I remember walking across the street on campus to our state-of-the-art recreation center and hearing 4 different languages that were spoken by our students in just my short walk. In fact, we know that there are more than 45 different languages spoken on our campus. This is a place where your students are going to live and interact and learn at one of the most diverse campuses in America. And beyond just the diversity, we have graduated into doing some deep, meaningful work around inclusion. And we're really proud that this is the sort of environment that your students get a chance to live and work and learn in. Again, our campus is a place where your students can see the world. Living on campus or playing on campus, we have more than 500 different student organizations. We have different athletic teams, our fraternities, our sororities. This is a place with vibrant campus life. And speaking of sports and the Powerhouse, I hear there's a little buzz that Houston might be joining a Power 5 athletic conference. And I'm not here to break any news today, but that's just to say that your students will have access to a top-notch experience. Again, whether it's part of our student organizations or a Greek life, or maybe it's cheering on the Cougs who just celebrated a Final Four finish in the 2021 NCAA men's basketball tournament. This is a place that isn't just transient. This is a place where our students live. It's a place where our students have fun and they learn and they make lifelong relationships. We have a growing footprint of residential life on our campus. We just finished a reconstruction of what we call the Quad, and as our newest residence hall, but we have freshman housing, we have apartment and loft styles, and we have a few options for more of our upperclassmen on campus as well. But moral of the story is this is a campus now. This university has changed a lot over the last 20 years. This is a campus where our students do more than just come and go to class. This is a place that they live, and they take part in student organizations, and they really invest in the campus culture and the community. So we want to make sure that your students know that we have a growing population of students living on campus with some tremendous state-of-the-art options for them to consider as well. Academically, as I mentioned earlier, we are a Carnegie Knight Tier 1 research university. Our current strategic plan calls for a number of efforts for us to be a top 75 and eventually a top 50 public university in America. We currently are nestled in the top 100. We want, especially for our students in the Houston area, to know that they don't have to leave Houston to go and seek out a world-class education. It's right here in their own backyard. We have faculty members with numerous awards, and we have award-winning and nationally ranked academic programs. Here on this campus, we have more than 110 different undergraduate programs or majors for your students to consider across our 16 different academic colleges. With our limited time today, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I just want to highlight a few, especially that I know many of your students may take some interest in. Many of our students have strong interest in our architecture program that is currently ranked the 31st best architecture program in the country. Most recently, College Factual, an organization, a publication, named our School of Music the #1 best college for music in the country. Incredibly popular, especially in our Houston footprint, is our College of Business, where our students represent 68 different countries around the world. Just over 75% of our business students take an internship before they graduate. And our entrepreneurship program has been ranked either #1 or #2 in the nation for the past 13 years. This is a great place to be learning and doing business. And last but not least, I got to mention our Hilton Hotel Restaurant Management Program, hotel and restaurant management program that has been globally recognized year after year as being among the best in the world. We're fortunate to have a special relationship with the Hilton family where our students get a chance to manage and run our on-campus hotel, as well as a restaurant, getting them some tremendous experiences along the way. Your students have great academic options, and even beyond our undergraduate programs. We have our 5 different professional schools, our newest being our College of Medicine. Our first class of medical school students are in their 2nd year of their learning. And our medical school has a primary focus of developing primary care physicians that are going to serve underserved communities, both urban and rural underserved communities. So we're really excited about the great work that our medical school and our students are doing. Let's talk a little bit about the process for your students to apply. Much of the process is the same, but we have a few tweaks along the way. Your students have the option of going either to Common App or Apply Texas to apply for admission. On the application, we're going to ask them to select 3 majors in the order of their preference that we will consider them for as a part of the admissions process. Similar to our friends at Texas Tech, we will continue to utilize the test optional admissions policy. So as a part of the application, we're going to ask them to indicate whether they want to apply with or without an ACT or SAT score. That'll tell us which admissions path to take them on. Lastly, our students can use the application to submit their admissions essay and activities, resume-like information. Some of you may know last year we asked students to submit an admissions essay and a resume after submitting their admissions application as additional documents. This year, we've included the essay and the resume portions as a part of the application process, which we hope will streamline and simplify the experience for students, not having to submit a bunch of documents after they have applied. Again, your students will be prompted to do that as a part of the application process. After your students apply, either on the Common App or Apply Texas, they'll pay that application fee. It has stayed the same this year, $75 for our students. And we will continue to accept and honor the application fee waiver. We recommend students use the NACAC fee waiver form, and they can submit it to their admissions counselor. They can send it to us at admissions@uh.edu, or we'll have an opportunity within their applicant portal to submit that fee waiver as well. So whichever is most efficient and best for them to get that to us, we will accept it, and we will continue to honor the fee waiver. Beyond financial aid, we also are taking into consideration the economic impacts of the current pandemic. So if you have families, maybe through their taxes, it may not indicate financial aid, but maybe there's a parent that has lost a job, or there have been some other sort of financial impacts throughout this pandemic. We will review and honor that as well. Our most significant enhancement to this year's admissions process is step number 3, which is the handling of transcripts. And I'm just so pleased to hear the work that Texas Tech is doing. We are going in the same direction. Our goal has been for a while to go paperless. I know some of you on this call today, you have known me and worked with me for the span of the 4 years I've been here at Houston, and you have heard me say that my number one big kind of bugaboo, if you will, has been transcripts. There's so much outside of the control of the applicant, whether it's the mail system. It could be a number of factors that impact whether a student's transcript makes it to where it needs to go. So we're going to go in a paperless process, and the pandemic has really nudged us even further to go down this route. So your students will be prompted to self-report their transcript information within their applicant portal. The only difference from many other institutions in this process is that we are hyper-focused on really 4 subject areas. We do not want your student to tell us their entire transcript record. Instead, we want your students to tell us their math, their science, English, and social studies, courses that they've taken in high school across those 4 subject areas. And in a couple of minutes, I'll explain why. Within our applicant portal, there will be some drop-down menus and pre-populated courses, which should ease the selection process for your students. After a great deal of user testing and having some students that have already been self-reporting, what we see is that on average, your students will likely self-report about 12 courses across those 4 subject areas. And on average, our students are finishing the self-reporting process in about 20 minutes or less. So I have to break this down for you. For some of you, if you are mailing a transcript in the past, if you have mailed a transcript to the University of Houston, and when you consider the time of the mail system, it probably takes 5 to 7 days for that transcript to get to us. And it'll probably, depending on the year, it'll probably take a couple of days for us to then process that paper transcript thereafter. In this new environment, instead of a week or a week and a half for your students, we're now talking about 20 minutes. This means we can get your student an admissions decision faster. It means we have cleaner auditing processes. If there are challenges, we can reach out to your students sooner. And it also means we can expedite the scholarship awarding process for your student as well. What I'll be telling your students throughout the year is that the sooner that we can process an admissions decision for them, the more time that they're going to have in the college planning process to figure out housing, to figure out orientation, and all of the other big decisions that come along the way. So really excited to introduce this self-reporting process, or for us, moving more in a paperless, going more paperless when it comes to step number 3 in dealing with transcript information. Lastly, what I'll say is that if you are a school on the call and your school sends transcript information electronically, for example, using T-Rex, an EDI, an electronic delivery system, we will continue to honor and accept EDI or electronic delivery of transcripts. What we are trying to eliminate at this time is paper. We do no longer in 2021, 2022, there's no reason why we believe with some tremendous systems that we continue to have to deal with paper. So we believe we can save some money for the schools and some time for your students. So if you can, your students will either self-report or the school will send the transcript to us electronically. We will accept either, but we will not accept paper. And we believe that this is in the best interest of the applicant, of our students, and expediting in admissions and scholarship decisions for them. So again, if you have questions, use that chat. Okay, we'll make sure we have staff that can help answer those questions for you as well. And then lastly, if your students are applying if they are applying for admission with a test score, step number 4 is just to have the testing agency provide us with that ACT or SAT score. Of course, if your students are applying without a test score as a part of our test optional program, they can skip step number 4 here. Now, because self-reporting is new this year, you all will get a copy of this presentation as well, but we have provided a few links that will help you and your students navigate this new process. We do have a handy self-reporting guide that'll walk your students step by step. We believe it's not a very complicated process to navigate through. But if your students do have challenges, we are here to help them navigate through that process as well. We have created a video tutorial for them as well. So we have a link that is available to them. And all of these resources are available on our admissions website, and I have provided the link to our self-reporting page for you here as well. Now let's talk a little bit about our admission requirements. Our admission requirements have gone on unchanged for this year. So if your students are applying for admissions with a test score, you can see here on this screen what it takes for them to meet our assured admission requirements. So a little bit of terminology, because I'll be teaching your students these things as well. Of course, automatic admissions for us and here in the state of Texas, for most of institutions in the state of Texas, is if your students are graduating in the top 10% of their high school class, they will receive automatic admission to the University of Houston, as well as most other institutions in the state. When we say assured admissions, it means that these academic thresholds we have, which are based on test score and class rank for our students applying with a test score, if they meet these requirements, any of these requirements based on whether they have a rank or not, we assure admission to them, okay? If your students fall just short of these assured admission requirements, we will take them through what we call individual review. This is a holistic admissions review process. And this is why we want your students to complete the admissions essay, as well as tell us about any work experience, service hours, activities, leadership roles. There'll be an opportunity for them to tell us that on the admissions application as well. And we'll utilize that information for scholarship awarding, but we'll also use this information if your students go into individual review. Again, meaning they fall just short of our assured admission requirements. Now, what if your students are applying for admission without a test score? All right, we have the same sort of approach and model here, where your students, we have assured admission requirements. Whether your students have a rank or not, we have some academic thresholds. Now, I want to pause for a moment to just express for us as an institution, and I know that this is true for so many others, like our friends at Texas Tech and many other institutions, is that the work that we're trying to do as an admissions office is simply to determine whether your students are prepared, not only academically, but mentally and emotionally and socially and all those other aspects, that your students are prepared to step onto our campus and be successful. At the end of the day, as the executive director of admissions, at the end of the day, that's all the work that I'm trying to do day in and day out, is determine whether your students are University of Houston ready. And we determine University of Houston ready through the leadership and involvement, through the service and awards. What this means is that your students are engaged. We know that when your students come to college, the more engaged they are in the college experience, the more engaged they are into networking in the community that they are a part of, it increases the likelihood of their success. So we want to see engagement when they're in high school. All right, that's what I'm going to preach to your students as well. Academically, what our data says, and every institution is a little different, okay? But what our data shows us at the University of Houston is that when your students excel in math, science, English, and social studies, that it significantly increases the likelihood of them not just getting to college, but moving through college, specifically here at the University of Houston. It is statistically significant when your students do well in those 4 subject areas. Now, I want to be clear. On this campus, we're not saying that PE or art or music or many other courses that are provided are not of importance. But we know, especially with a school with more than 47,000 students, and we receive 40,000 applications from high school students a year, we know that the most optimal way for us to assess readiness is to really have a narrow focus on the most significant courses that tell us your students are ready for the sort of rigor they're going to receive on our campus. We articulate that through math, science, English, and social studies. So when your students self-report their grades to us, or if your school is providing us with a transcript electronically, we are going to be looking at a what we call a core GPA across those 4 subject areas. And this is a very intentional approach around our retention efforts and ensuring that your students come here and are engaged and ready for the first year experience on our campus. So what you'll see here, particularly when we're looking at students that are without a ACT or SAT, is that our calculated unweighted GPA, that is a GPA across the math, the science, the English, and the social studies. So what am I gonna be telling? What am I coaching your students when I meet with them? I'm telling them as early as the 8th grade, I'm telling your students, you've got to buckle into all of your classes, but especially make sure that you're locked in on your math, your science, your English, and your social studies, because those courses are statistically significant when it comes to the retention work of seeing our students move to and move through college. Okay, so again, you're going to receive a copy of this presentation, but I want to make sure you know that we have some requirements and some metrics, all based on student success, whether students are applying with or without a test score. Now, lastly, what I'll say in this, because I'm giving my retention speech here, is that I'm incredibly proud of the work that the University of Houston has done and will continue to do on the retention front. We know that one of the things, the work that we have to continue to do as a tier 1 research university and a university that strives to be a top 50 public university, is we have to continue to improve our retention. We have grown our retention rate here at the university over the course of the last 5 years at a pace that is well above average across the country. And most importantly, and especially as one of the most diverse public institutions in America, the retention of our Black and Brown students, our Latinx, our African American, our Asian students and beyond have been absolutely incredible. And as a young Black man myself, I love seeing particularly our Black and Brown students, but especially all of our students and our first generation college students and our low income students have a shot at coming here and being successful, not just getting to college, but moving through college. A lot of this has to do with the great work that's being done in their high schools, but also the tremendous amount of support. We talk about the wraparound support here, where we can't just hone in on the academics, but we've got to hone in on the financial barriers that are keeping students in college. We've got to hone in on the emotional and the mental challenges that our students face, the anxiety and the pressure that they feel that may be hindering them from being successful inside and outside of the classroom. I'll tell your students that the #1 reason why students are dropping out of college actually has very little to do with their academic readiness, and it has everything to do with their time, with whether they are managing their time. Did you stay out partying last night? And so then you missed your quiz. You overslept for your test this morning. That impacts your grades. So all of these things that I know you all are coaching and teaching these students in school, we're reinforcing that message because we know that what's happening outside the classroom has just as much impact as what is happening inside the classroom. I'm sharing this with you today because I want you to see, need this to be a symbolism of intentionality. The University of Houston is incredibly intentional about not just getting students to college, but again, supporting them through. The retention is the #1 aspect to the strategy, if you will, of what is going to continue to make this university successful as well as its students. Okay, I'm the son of a preacher and I feel myself getting ready to catch a sermon, so I'm going to keep moving here. Some of our academic programs do have additional requirements, and we do have those listed on our website, and we provide it as a part of this presentation for you as well. So aside from the assured admission requirements that I shared today, some of our programs do have some additional requirements because they come with additional rigor, meaning your students may have to have a higher level of readiness to step into business or architecture or engineering and do well. In the event that you are serving some students that may attend a different institution, 2 or 4 year institution, and decide to transfer later, here we provide a little bit of information that'll help prepare them to be a successful transfer student. And most importantly, we have a tremendous tool now on our website called the Transfer Credit Estimator. This is not only for our transfer students, but it's also for you. If you have students that are taking advanced placement courses, CLEP exams, maybe you are a school that offers international baccalaureate, you can get onto our website. You can use our handy transfer credit estimator tool and see how those IB scores, how those AP scores, those CLEP exams, that you'll be able to see how the University of Houston will honor that credit. So I encourage you to navigate to our website and utilize that handy tool. Again, it's for high school, but also for transfer students. Any sort of college credit, we will estimate how it will come over to the University of Houston. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about deadlines and money. One of the things I want to make sure your students take advantage of is our scholarship opportunities. Our most premier scholarship, what we call the Academic Excellence Scholarship, ranges from $1,000 on up. We have a number of different ranges based on the academic profile and the readiness of your students. But in order to be considered, your students need to apply for admission. They need to do their self-reporting or submit their test scores to us. They need to do all that work by our scholarship priority deadline, which is November 1. So they have between now, if they haven't already applied, they have between now and November 1. We need them to take those important steps and get it done, right? In addition to that, you all know the FAFSA is going to be opening up here soon. We want them to be taking advantage of the FAFSA and TASFA opportunities that come from there. Please know about our Cougar Promise program. Our Cougar Promise program is we guarantee full tuition support, full tuition paid for any of our students. They got to apply for the FAFSA, okay? But any students where their families make less than $65,000 a year. I'm gonna say this again. If any of your students here in the state of Texas, their families make less than $65,000 a year, we guarantee that their tuition will be covered. It will be paid for. For any students whose families make between $65,000 and $125,000 a year, we're starting to get into more to that higher family income range. We guarantee varying levels of tuition support. So it could be half of their tuition is paid or 75% of their tuition is paid. It just depends on the range of their family income. But our Cougar Promise program is significant and is helping thousands of students every single year. This is free money for your students, all right? So I want to make sure that they do their part by applying by these deadlines, be in consideration for our Academic Excellence Scholarship. That's the November 1 priority scholarship deadline. And be in consideration for the Cougar Promise Awards, which is meeting the January 15 deadline, all right? So make sure if you can help us spread that word. We think these are some tremendous funding opportunities for your students. That again, we know a huge reason why students struggle to make it through college is what's happening outside the classroom, and the finances is a part of that. I'll tell you my own story as a first generation college student. The number one stressor when I was 17 years old and sitting at the dinner table, it was my family stressing about how are we going to pay for college. I wish that I had a Cougar Promise when I was in school, when I was in high school. So I think this is going to be a tremendous opportunity for your students to consider. I won't go through the details today, but again, just know all of this information will be readily available for you. But I want to make sure that your students have the costs. When we take a look at what the cost is for the type of institution, all right, when you think about the experience your students are going to get, the varying ways that they're going to be supported, and the tier 1 level of education that'll be right at their fingertips. For a Texas student, just over $10,000 in tuition. Then you tack on Academic Excellence Scholarship opportunities or our Cougar Promise Awards. I think that we're the best value around. Again, there's no better time to be considering a place like the University of Houston than now. So I think your students will really start to see the tremendous value that this institution has to provide for them. Now, I could keep y'all all day, all afternoon to share a whole lot more, but I hope that this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning where we can share more of why this university is a great option and what has changed so much about this institution. For any of you that have worked with the University of Houston, you've been around the University of Houston for many years, what I hope that you'll have an opportunity to see is this is not the University of Houston of 20 years ago. This place has changed significantly and will continue to change with the tremendous leadership that we have here on this campus. And we want your students to be a part of it. As learning about what we do, there's several things that we're going to be continue to do throughout the year. We are back to hosting campus tours on campus. We are also continuing to host virtual tours for students and school counselors and support networks as well. So you can log onto our website, and we're giving housing tours. We're giving all sorts of different tours for families right from the comfort of their home or their school or wherever it may be to learn more about the university. Or if you want to make the trek to campus, right, we would love to see you here as well and be able to show off our beautiful, beautiful campus and the tremendous energy that is around it. So with that said, I want to take the opportunity again to thank you. Thank you so much for your continued support of the University of Houston. And on behalf of Texas Tech and UH, I know Rex would agree, we are so honored that you have joined us here virtually today. And we really look forward to a future time, hopefully safer times, where we maybe can get back to seeing you in person. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Rex, anything to close us out?
Thank you so much, Mardell, for a great presentation. And we really appreciate all of your work and our great partnership that we have together from our two institutions. We will leave it open just for a few extra minutes in case anyone has any final questions that they would like to submit through the Q&A. But as Mardell said, that will end our formal presentation today. And again, if you do have any questions, feel free to put TTU or UH at the beginning of that question, and we'll get it answered for you. If you don't have questions, again, thank you so much for being here, and that will end today's presentation. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.